Good morning, and welcome to another edition of Roadhouse Last Call. Today we have Bells, which is me. We have the Binda,
Which is me.
The Binda. This is amazing. How prompt you are, how on time you are, how awake you are. You sound so alive, Bender. You sound more alive than I've heard you, and God, I don't know how long.
I was pretty awake yesterday. The same reason. I've been up since about 5:30 my time. Got shit to do, man.
Isn't it better to be up earlier?
I'd rather be sleeping, but
Yeah, it's like I've always
it just
loved
doesn't
getting
work
up
out.
early. Go to bed early, wake up early. Always been a fan of that.
It's the Sudafed. I don't take Sudafed.
It's crack cocaine, you see.
Yes.
Oh man. So great picture of the property. Looks like it's coming together very nicely.
Man, it is still overwhelming, but we've made a ton of progress.
You can see the dent up next to that road. You really wounded that out. That's nice. So where goes the little horse circle?
Oh, that's going to be, if you're looking at that picture, it's closer to kind of the, let's see, lengthwise, it's kind of towards the middle. I guess widthwise, it's kind of towards the middle. Lengthwise, it's towards the back, or the top of that picture, like where the real dark shadow is, to the left of that, kind of close to the fence line.
So you still have to whack that entire zone over there.
Well, yeah, that's not coming till later though. We got other shit that's gonna go kind of on the bottom side of that picture in the areas that we've cleared. We got stuff that's going in there first.
Very nice. I like it.
Yeah. When I can get water and power, that'll help.
You don't have that yet?
No. I don't have any of that. Nope. We run stuff off a generator, and yeah, I think I'm like 30 days out from a well, and about 8 weeks from getting temp power, and then a lot longer to get, permanent.
Wow,
But
that's a slow moving thing. It's like the well. I get you're responsible for that yourself, and I think you have to get some type of permit approval type thing.
no, interestingly enough, the only thing that you have to get a permit for where this property, like you can build whatever you want, you can do whatever you want. The only thing that you need a permit for is to put poop in the ground.
Huh.
You want to get a septic? You got to get a permit. Everything else is fine.
Interesting.
Do whatever you
I'm
want.
assuming you'll eventually put septic up, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. All right. That's fun. Oh, let's do some headlines real quick. We got jobs data this morning. We get additional data tomorrow, but U.S. weekly jobless claims rose and layoffs hit a 16th month high. A couple of sectors where job cuts surged: automotive industry, consumer products, entertainment, financial, and real estate industries all took the brunt of the hit as far as the layoffs and jobless claims. Something to keep in mind. Sometimes, these cuts in jobless claims can actually improve the bottom line of a company, so it's not necessarily a negative, something to be aware of to see if these sectors continue to trend out. Overall, global markets did fairly well, except for China. China kind of, stumbled a little bit. It was interesting seeing Europe do well with Boris Johnson kind of saying that he's going to be stepping down. But if you're getting into some of the reading, a lot of the analysts over there say that the problems are still the same, whether or not Boris is there or not. So I guess they're pricing a lot of that in, and maybe new leadership can kind of spur a different direction. GME and the big time news, the only news that really matters, they announced a 4-to-1 split. I'm sure that'll be on watch for the degenerates today. Other news, futures bets show traders assign roughly a 96% chance probability that the Fed will deliver a 0.75% interest rate hike later this month. That's up from 84% yesterday. Samsung also reported We're forecasting revenues for the April through June period to decline from the previous quarter and would basically would snap a 3 consecutive quarter record boom for them. There's a lot of interesting, and Son and I were kind of chatting in text about it this morning. A lot of conflicting information and data coming out of these semi companies as far as what's really going on. We know Intel has said some things that aren't all that positive. We know Micron has said that. Samsung's stepping out again yesterday and basically saying, hey, things aren't as glorious as they were. But we have to understand they're coming off of a major boom. And so you can't sustain that type of growth till forever. It's like eventually that growth will plateau based on the consumer appetite. People aren't buying brand new computers and brand new things every 6 months. So we have to understand that these things will plateau to some degree, especially if we're not getting technology to advance to the point that it makes sense to go ahead and buy something new. That obviously is going to be something that is always on the tops of minds of consumers. It's like, do I really need to buy this? What do I get extra, better, cool, neat?
I wonder if it's slowed down because I remember not long ago, 2 years ago, right before COVID, there was a new technology product hitting the market every 17 seconds.
So
it's like,
have we? Go ahead. No, this
I mean,
you tell me, man.
Over the, over the longer term, the rate of innovation in the technology space and new products that are hitting the market has done nothing but go up, like get faster, right? More products coming out. And I realize that, you're saying they can't necessarily keep up the pace, but I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if I buy that because the stuff that is coming out as far as software that makes it easier to develop these products and code these products and do market research and that, like manufacturing, improving because of automation, IoT, robotics, things like that. It's like, I don't know if I buy it. I mean, it's like saying the internet's going to go like, the internet, that's in the past. We're not doing the internet anymore.
So
I don't know.
overall, I agree with what you're saying. I totally agree with what you're saying. I think what they're trying to account for is that period during COVID, they absolutely exploded. So you have this explosion in sales during COVID when everybody's stuck at home. They're like, okay, new TV, new computer, new device, new everything. What can I buy electronic to make my home life better?
Yeah.
And then companies at the same time were like, okay, we need to invest in, being able to deliver this new demand spike from the consumer. Now the consumer is spending in different areas. They're not buying those things at the same pace that they were, because I think that pace was somewhat unsustainable as far as the pacing.
But do you not also think that, and we're like getting sidetracked here, do you not also...
No, we're not. This is good.
Do you not also think that the consumer is buying more things that has chips in it that probably didn't have chips in it before? That it's like, yeah, okay, maybe they slowed down on their, their home PC, but every single appliance now is like connected to the internet. Everything you buy, right? So they all have more chips, more boards. I mean, I can tell my fridge to like speed up the ice making process from my phone. My washer and dryer talk to each other. It's like my robot vacuum runs around and,
But when do you upgrade those products? When do you re-up on that to be like, okay, so it's like, so what's next as far as what's going to get you to go out there and spend more money on that?
I don't know. That's the thing.
Right.
Like, I don't know. But I didn't, we haven't had the Roomba all that long. And forever I was like, a robot vacuum? Really? And then I got one. I was like, this is freaking awesome.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to get one.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to pull the trigger on one of those for sure. Oh, this is interesting. And so you tell me this. You're a smart boy over there, and I'm going to read this to you, and you tell me. The average contract price for a major type of memory called DRAM fell by 10.6% during April to June quarter versus the prior year. The first such decline in 2 years, according to TrendForce, a Taiwan-based market research firm. Prices are expected to decline even more dramatically in the months ahead. The memory industry's weakened pricing power reflects slowdowns in sales of smartphones, PCs, and other gadgets as consumers increasingly feel the sting of inflation. Chip buyers facing slowing demand have curbed production, which has cooled semiconductor demand and replenished supply levels.
Yeah, I mean, what that says to me is that, so we've talked about how this is all intentional. This forced sort of squeezing the consumer, forced recession, like this is intentional. And if they're saying, well, people are buying less shiny shit for now, right? Then yeah, it makes sense that they would. The whole point of this was because demand was high, supply was low, there were supply constraints, shit couldn't get made, you couldn't order a car, you couldn't, and they're trying to fix it. And apparently, it's working, at least to some extent. It's just, how long does that actually last? And yeah, when I think the positive spin on it, if there is one, is that maybe you won't have to pay $1,300 for a new fucking phone because that's ridiculous. Yeah, it's a computer in your pocket. That's kind of cool. But, some shit has gotten just absolutely ridiculous and everybody was running out to buy it. So.
No, I agree. And it's crazy because what you're saying makes a lot of sense because even if you go back a couple of years when you're looking to buy a TV, TVs were really expensive. Now TVs are so freaking cheap, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, TVs are dirt cheap.
And TVs are dirt cheap. So it's like, and then we can go, if we want to be like before either one of our times, we can go back and talk about calculators being extraordinarily expensive. And now you get them at the dollar store.
Yeah.
So it's like if you can kind of track, and to your point, technology will continue to evolve, which I am a firm believer in that. I think there can be bottlenecks that take place, and I think this is absolutely a Fed-induced bottleneck that's being created in order to get the consumer to stop spending. But there's some data coming out that is indicating that the consumer really is not stopping spending. They're tapping into their savings. They're continuing to spend, which, is more problematic than not. It's like we need to have a national do not spend week where it's just like everybody just sit your ass home and don't do anything. Don't spend, don't do shit. Nothing. Buy some ramen noodles. That's
Aviator One, I agree with you that it does reset the economy at a more expensive level because those things will never come down to where they were, right? It's kind of like there were certain stocks, a lot of stocks, right, that we had talked about, when everything was rallying, mid to late 2020, where it's like, you see certain stocks at price levels and it's like, well, they're, before COVID hit, that stock was at 150 and now it's at 375. And, when it comes down to 250, it's like all of a sudden that feels cheap, right? It's kind of the same. It's like, they drive prices up high enough. Then when they do pull back a little bit, it's like, oh, it's cheap now. Well, shit, it's still 30% more than it was 2 years ago. So I do agree with you on that.
No, it's pretty wild. The kind of the repricing, and we're seeing exactly what you're saying. We're seeing repricing coming through a lot, even from the analysts. So it's like we had price targets on Disney well over 200, and everybody has come back over the last couple of say month or so and readjusted their price targets from those levels down to, let's say, anywhere between 145 and 160, like right in that little area.
Well, I mean, honestly, what are they actually good at? because it seems like everything that they like put out is just and listen, this we've been doing this for years. We've said the same things for years, but it's like saying it's going to rain after the storm comes.
Oh yeah.
It's like, what fuck? Why do you even get a paycheck?
No, it's a very, very disgusting, saving of face. It's like, it's what it is. It's extremely disgusting. Like, my biggest, the one that I point to more than anything is Shopify. It was banging up there over 1,500, 1,800, and they still had buys on it going up to 1,800 to 2,000.
Yeah.
It's like now it's trading like 300. It's like that to me, when we start getting into, the most egregious, crimes that have committed, I think in a lot of ways, those are criminal activities.
Yeah.
That should have some level of liability associated to these analysts.
They should.
To step out and make these proclamations as far as, it's like growth is, it's like, no, up until forever. It's like, so they perpetuate this mentality of until forever, while they're selling out from underneath retail, but retail is in a lot of ways relying upon what these guys have.
Well, that's just it, right? They have to create that liquidity, which is why we say when they say sell, they mean sell me yours. When they say buy, they say
right.
Buy mine. But as far as like having some level of responsibility, it's like if you were a meteorologist or a weatherman and you create panic in the town because you say that the biggest, hurricane for the last 150 years is going to hit, it's going to hit, like it's going to hit, pack up your shit, get out of town, And there was never any hurricane. You just did it to get people out of their houses so you could, it's like, shouldn't you kind of be held responsible? Like, hey, why did you do this? You fucked up, didn't you?
Should there not be a level of accountability for that?
Right.
Yeah.
And there's
not.
Yeah.
And it's like, but here's what's way I've always looked at it. These analysts, I don't see any difference between these analysts in the financial world I see on ESPN talking about fantasy football, fantasy sports. I don't see any difference other than, at least in sports, there is a hard line level of accountability. There's a real level of accountability. So Matthew Berry would not be Matthew Berry. He's a big analyst when it comes to fantasy sports. If he wasn't right a hell of a lot more than he's wrong, he would not be in the position that he is. So it's like, and if you think about it, it's the same thing when you start talking about fantasy sports and individual stocks. You're looking at an individual player to perform in a certain field and to fulfill a certain position for a fantasy team, which is no different than picking a stock for a portfolio.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, other than there's more accountability when it comes to fantasy sports than there is when it comes to analysts as far as at these banks. It's like this motherfucker, and it's like we can even go back, as we talk about Shop on that side, how about the big time, the big baller partner at Goldman Sachs that put a $5 price target on Tesla? It's like, where's the accountability for that at the same time? It's like there has to be something that's offered, as opposed to when we have these big pull downs and drawdowns, everybody wanting to point the finger at retail and say, oh, retail was so irresponsible.
Well, that's because Tesla's PE is way too high.
Let's leave Tesla out of it, but it's like you're either right or
Come
wrong.
on. You're not going to yell at me?
No, but I'm really, since I've moved, Bender, I am a kinder, gentler Hell's Bells.
This is what New Hampshire did to you, huh? They brought out your inner hippie?
Honestly, dude, I just don't give a fuck anymore.
But you're out there cutting trees? Anyway, okay. Hey.
But get what?
I get what you're saying. If you'd like to...
Going into levels now?
Well, if you'd like to finish that, go ahead if you have any more headlines. But it's 10 after 8, so...
No, I'm done with headlines. We'll do the levels, and
okay.
I think this is a great conversation. I think we should do more of this.
Sure.
But yeah.
All right, so I'll try to make this quick, but so we're at 38.65. Just below 3860 is the 10 MA on the 60 minute. 3854, just below that is the 20. So we're sitting above the 10 and the 20. The 50 is all the way down at 3831. So if we pull below the 10 and the 20, I look to the 50, and the 200 is right there as well on the 60 minute. So essentially you got the 3850s, mid 3850s, and then a pull below that, below 3854. We know 3850 was a big number yesterday, so I would look to that first. If that gives up, then I look at 3835-ish, because you got the 200 and then the 50 just below. So that's what I'd be looking at. Yesterday we talked about that little inverse in head and shoulders with the neckline in the 3820s. That has been playing out. We're now above that. So those 3830s, 3820s, that's, I look in the 30s if 50 breaks. And then upside, we have 3880 and then 3900 to reclaim that trend line, that longer term parallel channel. So that we still got to get above 3900, same as yesterday. That hasn't really changed much. If we get above 3900, we could see a push up to 3948. That's what I've got. And then obviously numbers deeper on both sides, but that's kind of where I start. I would keep an eye on, if we do pull below 3850, I would take a shot long at 3830, around 3835. And I gave you the 50 is there, the 200 is there. Those are on the 60 minute. You also have the 5 and the 20 MA on the daily are right there, 3831, 3832. Those are squished together in that same area. So you get a ton of moving averages depending on, and I like that, because if you're somebody that trades off the 60 minute, or you're somebody that trades off the daily, or you watch both, or what, you have multiple groups of traders that their moving averages line up in that range. So if we get a pullback, I would look in the 30s as, a place that I would be looking to buy support down there if we get there.
Awesome.
Lean is still up. We're above the midpoint of the Bollinger Band. We'll see what the news cycle gives us. We'll see what the internals look like. For now, though, the lean for me is still up.
Okay. We have Bullard at 1 o'clock today, which we know the Bullard effect and what that can be. We also have crude oil inventories at 11 this morning. We're close to that 1330 on UVXY. We're sitting right on 1350. 1330 is where it ricocheted off about 2 weeks ago, and we started a pretty big sell. So that 1330 level, I'm going to keep my eye on to see when that happens. The range over here that I'm looking at is 1330. If for whatever reason the VIX makes a move to the green and these things start pushing up, 1380 is going to be a very, very big line for it to reject off of. So 1330, 1380, we're sitting right in the middle right now, effectively at 1350. So just keep that in mind as you're going through that. That 1330, again, it ricocheted. And if you want to pull up some of the longer term, I say longer term, like maybe a 5 hour, 4 hour, you can see a bull flag building out pretty substantially over there on the VIX. Whether or not it plays out, who knows, but it's there. Stockington, what do you have for us on this day?
Hello, good morning. Good talk. I was listening in on that macro stuff. I was looking at those robot vacuums, and my brother actually talked me into going for a cordless Dyson. So I would recommend looking into those before pulling the trigger on a robot.
No, we have one of those. Get the robot.
Oh, okay.
I have the cordless Dyson. It hangs on the wall, and since I got the robot, it never comes out.
What does your robot do with dog hair? You got a dog.
Yeah, but he doesn't shed.
Oh, you got one of them fancy dogs.
It's a full-size standard poodle. He doesn't shed.
Stuffed animal.
everyone says Dyson loses in this battle. Okay, well, that'll be my next. I'm like over here vacuuming fans and windowsills.
Yeah, for that kind of stuff, you got to have something like the Dyson, right? But just for everyday cleaning, keeping your floors clean and not having to really worry about it, you get the robot.
Is that really, are we talking about a glorified dustbuster?
The robot?
No,
Or the Dyson?
The Dyson.
Yeah. I would agree
It's just
that
a
that's-
glorified dustbuster.
It cleans pretty good, but yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Black & Decker, another one of those legacy companies that's just over there just sucking it. Sorry, go ahead, Stockington.
I thought I was helping out. Everyone already skipped past the Dyson train. Okay. My next purchase. Anyways, all right. So again, less is more. So I'm just gonna be watching. I got 3 on the list today, and no major gaps, which is like, the gift of gifts. So Roblox, I'm gonna be watching this 38.75 to the upside, and then if it pushes down, looking at 37.50 to take it short. There's 2 dark pools below that would be good to be aware of if we're going to go down. 36.68 and then 36.42. If Roblox makes a move to the downside above, there's a smaller dark pool, 40.85 on Roblox. Baba Bender gave us the chart and some levels yesterday. He said, let's see what Baba does over 120. We're above now. So, and I had 120.65 as an important level, which is basically right where we are right now. Baba's got a couple dark pools below, 119.62 and 119.12. So if we get a little push down, I'd be looking for like some kind of retest off those. And then lastly is Microsoft. Again, Swan and I both have Microsoft. And again, I went a little bit more aggressive on the triggers. It's kind of drifting down a little bit here pre-market. So I had a line at 265.45 to take it short. And then if we get above 267.25, I'd be looking to take Microsoft long. And then last night it got around 458 million in dark pool at 266.22. So it just kind of popped back up to that area right now. So see what this next reaction gives us, and that's what I got.
On Baba, I would add 121.32. That is the 200 on the daily. 121.32. So yeah, I wanted to see it get above 120, but that 121.32 is what I'll be watching. Above that, then you're above the 200 on the daily. I was watching it obviously pop out. It came over the 89 on the daily. We watched that 110 to 120 range. Now it's above 120. Let's see if it can take the 200 there.
And there were definitely some 130 taps coming into Baba yesterday, for whatever that's worth, a couple of weeks out, but there were definitely some taps in that range. I'm not seeing, let's say, 110 puts, 115 puts. I'm not seeing those either. So it's Baba could
It's also
be
got
great.
this nice cup that it has formed, right?
Well,
and the cup and handle kind of playing out. So
sometimes when it comes to herpes, it's like you just really don't know what you're dealing with until you actually have them. So that will always be my caution when it comes to these Chinese tickets.
oh, absolutely. It does at least
Mr.
seem
G.
like the focus has shifted, and we're not getting the same headlines that we were. So maybe at least in the short term, they're done, punishing the shit out of it. Who knows? It is still herpes, but
I think they are, but I also think that their financial model, their monetary policy in China is very, very accommodative to their companies right now. They're trying to stimulate growth. They're trying to push, they're doing the exact opposite of what we're doing right now. If you look at their monetary policy compared to ours, they're doing exactly the opposite of what we're doing. So there was an analyst, I don't know, it was JPM or someplace else, said that the only place to invest right now when it comes to growth is China. That statement was made. So
There you
all
go.
good until it's not. So let's
Until it's not. Until they come out and say somebody else disappeared and fell off the face of the planet. And yeah, here's that. This is the chart that I had posted yesterday. Zoomed in. That's the daily. This is also in my room. I put it in the room, but you can see that longer term parallel channel that it popped out of, and then came down and rechecked, bounced there, and now that white line at the top is the 200.
All right. Well,
So let's see what it does.
got about nine minutes until game time. Everybody get comfortable, do what you're going to do. Bender, thank you for a great show. Stockington, thank you.
He's
for
walking the
telling
dog.
us- He's walking the dog. All right.
That's what he
We'll see
calls
y'all
it.
soon.
All right.